Good morning. I pray that your Sunday was filled with spaces and places of joy, of peace, of happiness. I just came out the pool and I wanted to stand in front of a tree that's starting to blossom, even though it's the second week of March. But anyway, I'm going to enjoy it, and I want you to enjoy it too. The title of this video is Playing Well with Others, or Sharing Spaces. So I'm in this program at the pools for people 60 and over, and the last half hour it's swimming. So they're teaching swimming, and there's 2 lanes that are open throughout the whole 2 hours. But some people who can swim laps. When it comes to the class, typically the people who already could swim would use the second lane. But this semester, there's a lot of us learning to swim. So there's probably about 5 or 6 of us in one lane who know how to, or practicing breathing, and then maybe 8 or 9 people in the other lane who are beginners. The problem is, for the ones who already knew how to swim, there's one lady in particular who does not want to share that lane with anybody. She wants to continue doing what she was doing when there weren't so many people. And she's not in the class. Now mind you, she could also swim laps at any other time, but she's there when the class starts. And if we try to wait and let her go by, and she'll splash and do all kinds of passive aggressive things. Actually, they're more aggressive than not, because she does not want to share the space. She does not take into account that in this particular time period, the emphasis has changed and there's more people using that lane. And I began to think about, or have been thinking about, her resistance, because this has been going on since January. I began to think about other places where we struggle with sharing our space. And the first came to mind was church. Now that we're back to being able to worship in church, we're back to having people who don't want anybody to sit in their seat. This is their seat. And they don't care who it is. They're not willing to share their seat. There are people who have desired to be in relationship, desire to have a spouse, but they struggle with, or have not contemplated, after you've been alone for quite some time, you may have to share your space. And sharing your space means not just giving your spouse one drawer or a piece of a closet, but to really share the space. It doesn't mean that, all of your things that you have up get to stay up, but their things have to go and stay in boxes. It's all about sharing spaces. So I'm curious, for you, where are spaces and places where you struggle with sharing your space? Where do you struggle with playing well with others, which is kind of 2 different things, but a part of playing well with others is sharing the space. I know a lot of women who cannot share the space of their kitchen, and probably men alike, because they feel like it's their kitchen and things are not going to be done the way they want them to be done. But anyway, have a wonderful day. Enjoy looking at these blossoms. There's other trees that are starting to blossom. But whatever you do, find some spaces and places of joy. And I really want you to think about, where are spaces in your life where you don't really want to share the space? I never share what my space is, and mine has to do with water also. So I love deep water aerobics, and there's a lot more people who take the class now, and I find myself trying to find a little corner because I don't want to share my space. I don't want people splashing on me. I don't want to be knocking into folk. And I know that for a lot of people who do that, there's 1 or 2 reasons. 1, because they're new and they're trying to just keep themselves up. And 1, because there's some people who have no clear concept of personal space or how close in proximity they are to others. But I find myself, instead of being irritated, which is very easy for me to do in terms of deep water, I just keep moving myself to where I can find a space away from everybody else, where I can exercise without worrying about being kicked or hit, and not have to worry about being upset. So I encourage you, think about places where you are challenged with sharing your space, and let me know what that's like for you. And make a vow this week to try to work through it. Love you all. Bye-bye.